3, 2, 1, 0.
Happy Canada Day, everyone! How are you doing? My name is Myers Corp Cosplay, and welcome to a new edition of Monday Night Nerd. Tonight, we're going to talk about Nickle City Comic Con because I was there on Sunday. It's my first time doing what I'm considering an international con. I've never done one outside of Canada. Was there anything different? Was it the same old thing? We're going to talk all about that. Some amazing people that I met and a whole lot more. Thank you for joining me. I know it is Canada Day, so you're all probably busy, but you're spending your night with me, and I appreciate that so much because you could be out enjoying this great weather. It's been crummy the past couple days, so being on a nice, beautiful day like this is always good. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into a little bit of news because, let's be honest, there hasn't been a ton lately. It's been kind of a slow news week. It's not bad though, because sometimes we get into these news weeks and it's crazy busy and crazy stupid stories, but this is just a couple small ones. This actually kind of pertains to something a little later that we're going to talk about. One of the people that I ran into has kind of had a similar problem. So let's talk about video games for a second. We've got Capcom releasing a remake to the amazing Dead Rising. Dead Rising was a game that was pretty much an Xbox exclusive for many years. It's a great idea. It was a photographer lands in a mall, and we have a Dawn of the Dead situation where the mall is infested with zombies. This guy's gone in to photograph the destruction. He is big, he's muscular, and he's going around kicking the crap out of zombies with everything in the mall. It was a great concept. There was many sequels after it. They're remaking it, and they're bringing it out as a complete remake like they did for the Resident Evil series. However, like Resident Evil 2, the original voice actor is not going to come back. The voice actor TJ Rotolo has been the voice of the main character Frank West for the entire series, I'm pretty sure. He started in the first game. He went through almost all of them. I think there may be one or two little things here and there where he's made a cameo where the voice actor has not been there. But it came out today that on his Twitter, a couple people asked him, are you going to be on there? We haven't seen anything. And he came out and said, and I quote, the answer to your question is I have no answer. All I can say is that I've always been grateful for every opportunity to help bring Frank to life. An actor's job when called upon is to show up prepared, deliver your best, and when done, move on to the next mission. I simply wasn't called for this mission. The reasons are the producer's own. Now, there are many times in animation where they'll bring back a series and they'll recast. It's not unheard of to happen. But when you have someone who has been the star, the voice actor of the main character, the protagonist of the series, and to be completely honest, if you go on the Google machine and you Google TJ Rotolo and you Google Frank West, the resemblance is, there's some family resemblance for sure. It's not a splitting image, but it is very close to almost the same look as the actor. And they don't bring him back is kind of surprising, unless you know Capcom's history. And this will come up a little, well, we'll talk about this person a little later because I met her at Nickle City Comic Con. This was something that was a bit of a controversy a little while back when they re-released Resident Evil 2, my favorite Resident Evil, and a lot of people's favorite Resident Evil. Allison Court, who also plays Lunette the Clown in Big Comfy Couch for your Canadian fans out there, and was the voice actress for Jubilee in the original X-Men animated series. She was Claire Redfield in Resident Evil 2 back in the day, as well as subsequential Resident Evil appearances, including Resident Evil Code Veronica and a couple of the movies. And they did not bring her back for the Resident Evil 2 remake. It just doesn't, it's kind of not shocking at this point that this Capcom is one of those companies that just seems to trip over themselves. They will always do something great, like announcing the Marvel versus Capcom collection that's coming out, which people have been asking for decades. But then they do something like this where it's an easy layup that the fans of this franchise are going to want to replay the remake, and they fall by not bringing the actor back. Now, there must be some reason why Capcom keeps doing this. Maybe they want to bring a new generation of actors into it. I don't know, but it just seems to keep happening with this company, and it's frustrating the fans. I mean, I'm not a diehard Resident Evil, I'm not a diehard Capcom fan, but I enjoyed Resident Evil 2 a lot. I enjoyed Allison's portrayal of Claire in multiple different versions. And the new actress that's doing it, I just don't understand. They did the same with Leon in Resident Evil 2, and I think they've done it in Resident Evil 3 as well. So it's just another one where you're just like, it's so easy to make the fans happy, but they just fall on their face. It's frustrating for fans, but whatever. We're gonna have to live with it. I'm excited to play it. I played 2 and 3, and it just wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't the right thing for me for Dead Rising, but I am excited to kick back into the original remaster because again, it was an Xbox exclusive, and I never got to play it because I'm a PlayStation fan. So this will be a good time. I'm excited once it comes out. The only other bit of news we have tonight is a new trailer just dropped mere hours ago for a movie I didn't even know was being made, but I'm so happy it's being made. And I will tell you, another person in this house, my wife, is very excited about this. A new Hellboy movie is coming, and it is produced by the writer Mike Mignola, who was the writer of Hellboy. And it looks so good. It looks very dark, very horror-centric, which I'm so happy about. I loved the original 2 with Ron Perlman. I did not like the third one that just came out a couple years ago. But they were a little more audience-centric, like trying to make it more acceptable for people who didn't already know what Hellboy was. But it was still good. It was still good. This looks like they're going full-on horror, and I'm super excited because it's a different portrayal for Hellboy, but I think they're going to do a great job. The trailer's amazing. It says coming soon, so I don't know when it's actually going to come out, but go check it out after you're done this. New Hellboy movie is going to be coming out in the next little while. I'm excited for it. And again, my wife is super excited because that is probably, if not her favorite, one of her favorite characters. As a cosplayer, when I first met my wife, if you didn't know this, she cosplayed. And one of the first things I made for her was the Fist of Doom from Hellboy. And we did a female Hellboy cosplay for her back in the day. We still have the jacket. I made her just a makeshift version of the gun. But yeah, it was such a cool cosplay. It's one of the best ones she's ever done. I believe she won an award for it one of the first years that we were together. So she is super excited. She's already sent everybody the trailer, and I know we're probably going to go see that together. But that is kind of it for the news. Let's jump into the sponsor for the day's episode, and then we will move on to Nickle City Comic Con. Folks, the sponsor is the woman I was just talking about. The sponsor for this episode, as with all episodes, is my wife, because she's always the sponsor. I would not be here without her. I know I say it every single week, and you're probably so tired of hearing it, but it has to be said. I am a better person because of my wife. It is not me sucking up. It is literally the truth. I'm a different person. I'm a better person because of my wife. She makes me a better person every single day. I would not have the cojones to do this. I would not have the cojones to do these cosplays and make this one of the things that takes up 99% of my time, even though it frustrates her sometimes that I spend more time up here some days than I do with her. I love her so much, and I would not be here without her. Hun, I love you. You will always be my sponsor. Let's jump into Nickle City Comic Con, folks, because this was a new one for me. Let's jump into it. Nickle City Comic Con, Buffalo, New York, at the Buffalo Convention Center, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Canada Day long weekend. This was, again, my first international con. I didn't think about it until a couple days before, where I was like, I've never gone to the States for a convention before. I was intrigued because we'd hear, there's so many comparisons between what's different in the States compared to Canada. There's a lot of similarities, but there are some differences. So I was excited to see what the differences were. Now, this was not a convention that I was going down to cosplay. I was simply going down to volunteer. The people who run this con, Nickle City, also run Niagara Falls Comic Con as well as Hamilton Comic Con. So a lot of the volunteers of this con are friends of mine who I have, I've had a long-term friendship with, and I was going down to give them a hand. I did only go on the Sunday because it is Canada Day weekend. I did not want to spend 2+ days down there when I couldn't be spending time up here, because as we saw in the pre-show, I've got a whole bunch of cosplay stuff to be finished, getting ready for Fan Expo, so I did not want to take up too much of that weekend taking care of that stuff. But let's get into this. So went down on the Sunday, and like I said, the big thing was this con very different than any other Canadian con that I've been to? Yes, but no. So let's kind of go through a little bit step by step. So I gotta say, I've been to Buffalo many times because I live in the Hamilton area, so it's just a short drive down to the U.S. border to Buffalo. Gone down there shopping tons of times when I was a kid. Go down tons of times now. I don't think I've ever run into a parking problem until Sunday. And I don't mean parking problem like there wasn't enough spots because the con was crazy. Parking problems as in everyone that I hit down there has now been turned into a mobile app one, and not a pulling the ticket or putting a credit card in. I at least hit 3 that I pulled into, was like, oh, I just got to go over to the machine and get a ticket. No. You get there and there's just a QR code. And because I'm Canadian, I don't have cell phone service down there, so I could not get the mobile app to work. So I went into many different parking places. Finally, I was able to find one. I was getting frustrated after a while. Border was absolutely with no problem. I was super happy about that. I know a couple people, a couple volunteers one of them has been in chat multiple times. Her and her husband were volunteering down at the con, and they had some border problems by, you just learn not to say certain things that may tip off border crossing. Nothing illegal, but just phrasing of certain things can come off certain ways to people who don't understand what we were doing. So we get to the con. I just got there. I got there just before the con started. I didn't get there too early. Especially because I did about an hour and 15 drive to get there. So didn't want to get there too early. Walked in, pretty much walked right into the con. And that's when it hit me that there was a step before entering the con that we don't have up here that they have down there. And that is, you had to walk through metal detectors. And it I did it. And then I kind of stopped and looked around like, oh, right. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Like, this is different. Not a bad thing. Like, I'm glad that security measure's there. It kind of shocked me. Alex in chat says there's a garage just a block north. I think that's the one that I was there. Yeah, that was 4 for the day. That's exactly the one that I found. And actually, there was spots like right on the first floor, which made it even better. But yeah, I had to walk through metal detectors, which I kind of was like, oh, I guess this might be a little different than any other con I've been to. But then we got up there, and it felt like every other con. It was the layout was pretty similar to what they've done at other cons. It did not appear that they had the big room that they had out at Niagara Falls that had the celebrities off to their own. We did have the celebrities in with the regular vendors. So I had that little bit of feeling of an old school con, I guess you'd call it, because I think based on the way Hamilton is going to be laid out, I'm assuming based on it being at Hamilton Place or the Hamilton Convention Center this year, the celebrities might be off on their own again, maybe have their own floor. So we'll have to wait and see how that is. So it kind of felt pretty similar to any other con I've done in the past. I really didn't have a lot to do when we first got there because as soon as I got there, I was told, you're working with Sting. That he's going to be nuts today. I need someone who knows what they're doing on there. Not saying the others don't know what they're doing, but I've been doing this long enough. I kind of know how to work with these people. But he wasn't showing up till 12, so I had some time to walk around and enjoy the con, which is nice. I love doing that. And to anybody who's watching this who is a volunteer and wants to start volunteering at conventions, this is a big tip. If you're new to the con, if you're new to volunteering, if you want to be essential and be one of the best volunteers you can find, before you start your day, as soon as you get in there, go for a quick walk around the con, because that will give you an idea of where things are that you might be asked about. You might be asked about washrooms. You might be asked about food. You might be asking about maps and stuff where people could pick those things up. These are all things that are important. So when I get to a con, especially one that I've never worked before, I really enjoy going around and looking through the con, even quickly, and just getting a general idea of where those key things are. So if you're looking to volunteer at a convention, that will make you a standout volunteer, having that knowledge, because I can guarantee you there will at least be one person asking you a question like that throughout your day. So I took a few minutes, looked around, and I got to admit, the layout of the venue was pretty cool. It was not something I had dealt with before. With Niagara Falls Comic Con, the room that the venue is based off is kind of just that. It's a room. Everything else is outside in the hallway. So your food is outside. Your washrooms and stuff are on the outside. So nothing's really in the room. You kind of have to go through doors to get to everything. Same with when it was Hamilton Comic Con was up at the Warplane Heritage Museum. Same thing. You had to go out to get certain things. This was all in one floor, which was really nice because you literally could walk a short distance and you're at the washrooms. You could walk a short distance and you had a food vendor right there. And by the way, I didn't get a chance to eat the food. I don't like eating food at cons because I've got stomach issues. And if I eat something that doesn't sit well with me, I'm kind of out for the day. So I didn't get to eat anything, but I got to admit, anybody that was walking around with food from that vendor, from the con vendor, looked really good. I heard the chili was really good. I heard the chicken nuggets were really good, which is really nice because I gotta admit, Niagara Falls Comic Con, that venue, their food kind of sucks. I've heard it's okay. Like I've heard some things are okay, but for general, like the pizza's kind of meh. The poutine is like it's a poutine, so it is what it is. But like I saw some good food at this venue, so that was a nice thing to see. But yeah, the layout was really nice. It looked like the vendors had a lot of room to kind of not be, people walking around bumping elbows into things. They had a lot of room, which was very, very nice. And I got to shout out some vendors because, as I said in the pre-show, this is something that I kind of run into almost every con now because I've been doing cons since 2009 on a regular basis. Everybody in this area kind of goes to all the cons. If you've gone to Fan Expo Canada in the past 10 years, you've seen almost every local vendor and almost every toy or anything that you've ever wanted in life as a nostalgia or even current, you've seen. So going to a con now, I don't really need to shop. I'm really looking for deals at this point and vendors who are just wanting to get rid of stuff. It's very unlikely that I'm going around going, ooh, I need an X-Men, blah, 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 because A, I could probably tell you what the price is at this point, and B, I know that that stuff is going to be marked up so good, so high that I'm like, I don't know if I want to pay that price. So it is cool to go to this place and see different vendors. I want to shout out a couple. The one that really stood out to me, there was a woman there, and it was such a cool thing. I walked by it like 4 or 5 times going, I need to buy one of these. She makes plush dino nuggets. Like, it's such a cool idea. Like, it's literally in like a furry felt in the shape of dino nuggets. And she had big ones, she had small ones. I was honestly thinking of picking up one for my wife. It was such a cute idea. For comic book fans, next to two of the voice actors, they had a very big light up booth that had a lot of exclusive covers. They had some foil ones and some regular ones, but it was a big lit up booth. And as soon as I saw that booth, it felt very much like the photos and videos I've seen from San Diego Comic Con. It felt very big, felt very showy. And I feel like we don't get those at Fan Expo as much. There is I think it's the neon sign booth that is at Fan Expo, and it's also at Anime North. But that's about it. There's nothing really lit up at Fan Expo. And I felt like that booth at Nickle City stood out. I actually looked at it 3 or 4 times going, is there a comic cover that I'm kind of looking at? Because there was a ton of X-Men. They had some Disney stuff. They had really cool, intricate drawings with a lot of the X-Men 97 cast because almost all of them were there at the con. But that was really cool. And honestly, I gotta applaud whether it's the showrunners or it was these guys themselves that showed up. Monster Energy had a booth there and they were giving away free Monster Energy drinks. That was so cool and such a great idea. I am now an energy drink guy. I drink, sadly, I know I should probably cut back. I probably drink one a day, if not one every other day. But it was so nice having those readily available. I brought my own just in case. But it was so cool to go over there and they were just giving away free monsters, which was cool. I love it. I hope this is something I'd like if the people who run Niagara Falls and all these cons, if you could bring them to Canada, we would greatly appreciate it at Niagara Falls at Hamilton Comic Con. That probably saved several of our volunteers. Alex in chat says they gave me about 12 over the weekend. I brought my own, but I brought a Rockstar, and when I walked past the booth, I was drinking the Rockstar, and I didn't want to be like, I'm drinking your competitor. I felt bad. So once I was finished, I went over and I grabbed one, and it was the end of the con. So I was kind of like, can I have two? And he said, sure. So I grabbed two. I grabbed a strawberry and I grabbed a white 0-calorie one, which I never had. I never had the white before, but I'm actually a big fan of that now. It's like a lemon lime. I've been looking for a good non-orange and strawberry one because those are the kind of the ones I lean towards. But yeah, it was really nice getting a lemon lime one. But even just some of the artists, there were some 3D print guys that were there that I was really excited to see some of the stuff they were doing. Some of the guys, I think there was one, I didn't get a chance to sit down and actually look at their booth, but it looked like they had some 3D prints of NES and N64 and Game Boy cartridges, which I know those files, you can see some of them, some booths have them, but I've never seen one that looked like that was their specialty. So that was really cool. I would have loved to have looked a little more, but I got super busy because I was working with the man called Sting. If you're a wrestling fan, you know this guy. He is a WCW legend. He's a WWE legend. He's a wrestling legend. And this is my second time working Sting's line. I actually worked his line when he was at Niagara Falls a couple years ago. Always a great guest. Such a sweet guy. Does everything for his fans. We had a full line. There was a lot of people lined up for him. And it was really interesting because I got to admit, there's always one or two fans at these cons that are The word entitled is not right. I don't feel that's the word. I just feel like you pay for something, you expect something, and sometimes it just doesn't work that way. For example, if you buy a premium pass or you buy a VIP pass or something like that that says you get to the front of the line, you expect to get to the front of the line. For those who've never gone to a con or are a volunteer, you know my frustration. When you buy a VIP that says get to the front of the line or something like that, you have to remember that there are many others who have bought that pass as well. And if you all line up at the same time, I can't push all of you to the front. So there's usually one or two people that get a little frustrated. Either they're an exhibitor or something like that. And I get it. I completely understand, because you think, hey, I got to get back to my booth, or I paid extra money to get to the front and I'm not right at the front. There's only so much I can do. If all of you show up and want the same autograph, I can't do much about it. But there was none of that this weekend. I didn't have a single complaint, which shocked me, because I'm going to stick with a couple stereotypes here. I thought the Canadian fans were supposed to be the more, hey, everything's cool, we're going to say sorry about everything. I now know that I've had more frustrations with Canadian fans than I have American fans. So that kind of, I don't want to say it shocked me, but I was kind of like, wow, like you guys are really cool with how this is working. And not that they really had to wait long. It was just, we had a lot of people wanting to meet Sting, and that's understandable. Like I said, WCW legend. I want to give a quick shout out to, I believe his name is Thomas. He was working the Sting line with me. Really, really, really cool guy. I think this is his first time working a con, or he's never been to a Canadian con. This one, like I said, this is my first time in the US, so first time meeting him. Knocked it out of the park. Great guy. Yacked with him all weekend, or all Sunday. He was great with line management. Brian in chat, who was working with, I'll talk about him a little later. Mr. Tony Moran from who played Michael Myers in the first Halloween. Honestly, it was a really good weekend. Not even a single complaint for me. And Brian, working behind the table, he has seen the goods and the bads from different fans. And yeah, I didn't hear a single complaint from anybody. So that's a great thing. Sting showed up around 12. It was cool. He came in. He was ready to go. He was signing autographs, shaking hands, kissing babies. Wasn't kissing babies, but still, great attitude. He had his white face paint on, which everyone loved. I was taking a couple photos with him. He was so happy. And that is one of the best things, because there are times where guests show up and it can be, for many different reasons, that it's just a bad day. I can clearly remember back in the day, I waited 3 hours outside of Niagara Falls WWE store to meet Christian and Batista. And that is Dave Batista from Guardians of the Galaxy. And my buddies and I waited 3 hours outside. We walked in finally. We met them, and they were in the grumpiest mood. And I will admit, it has stuck with me ever since. I know everything I've read about Dave Batista and Christian as well have been nothing but glowing. But that day, they were in a mood. So there's always a worry that you're going to get a guest who is just having an off day. Sting was amazing. He took time out of with so many people, talked to them, enjoyed the time. It got stories. There was a few of them that we kind of had to say, like, Sting, we got to move this on a little bit because you've been talking to this guy for about 5 minutes. Really, really nice. There was actually I think it was a vendor came up with one of the old WCW Sting toys still in the packaging and passed it to me and said, hey, if you can give this to Sting, it'd be greatly appreciated. He doesn't have to sign it or anything, but if he wants to give it to a fan, that would be great. We'd love for him to give that to somebody. And Sting was we didn't really have a lot of kids at the end. However, The last person that came up was a family with a special needs child, which I just looked at Sting, and he didn't look at me, but I was putting it into the world of like, this is the moment, this is the moment. And he signed a photo for the child, and then he kind of looked around and said, "Hey," gave him the figure, and I was like, "That's it. Good job, good job." So yeah, Sting was an absolute delight. Great to the staff, great to everyone. Yeah, Brian. Even during his photo ops, he tried to give everyone the time, and his line was long, I assume. Yeah, that's what I heard too. I heard he was busy down there too, and that's when we felt kind of bad because he went down, and we knew we had to get a car at a certain point, so we had to tell the fans like we want him to come back up and do more autographs, but we just don't know because he wants to talk and he wants to give people that interaction. So we were worried that he's going to spend so much time downstairs, he's not going to be able to come back up. But thankfully he did. He came up and finished the line. It was Held Up Tony. Sting apologizes probably. But yeah, he was such a great guest. It was, like I said, it was my second time meeting him. I really didn't get to do much with him the first time I met him because I was kind of still a rookie at that point. But this time it was, I knew what I was doing, and he had a good day. And yeah, after that, the con had kind of slowed down by that point. It had gotten to about 3 o'clock, and by around 3 o'clock, the con ended at 4. Everyone kind of starts leaving because the fans have kind of been here for the past couple days. It's just, that's the way the con is. It's once he hit a certain time limit, everyone starts to check out. So once Sting was gone, a bunch of celebrities started to pack things up. A bunch of the vendors even started to pack things up. So I didn't really get to do much else after that besides hang out with some of my friends like Brian and Alex who are in chat, as well as some others. Kind of just walked around, said hi to some people. Who did I get to meet? Let's talk about that quickly. Besides the man called Sting, which I'm super happy to say hi to him again. I finally got a photo with him. Someone who I've been wanting to get a photo with forever. My favorite wrestler growing up, because I've been a fan of this guy forever. And I will tell you, I had a question for him that was very important because it is a goal of mine. Before I get to that, it was Mr. Rob Van Dam. I am a hardcore wrestling fan, and I've been a fan of Mr. RVD for so long. I have got at least 3 autographs from him over the years, just meeting him at different things, including Niagara Falls Comic Con and the WWE store. He was the first one I waited outside for hours, was meeting RVD. I've been a fan of his forever. I love, if you're not a wrestling fan, folks, and you're an art fan, go onto Google and Google Rob Van Dam singlets. He always had these really cool airbrushed singlets that I loved growing up. I loved them to the point that I got white t-shirts and I got my Sharpie markers as a kid, and I redrew several of his singlets onto white t-shirts and wore them to school. They were not even close to the airbrush quality, but I loved RVD growing up. And I still think he's a cool guy. So it was finally nice to sit down and meet him. And his wife was there, Katie Forbes, who is also a wrestler. But the big question I asked for him is, I want to, by 40, do the splits. It is something I've always wanted to do all through my life, ever since seeing Rob Van Dam and Jean-Claude Van Damme and all these people do the splits. I've always told myself I need to learn how to do the splits. I need to train to do the splits. So I'm putting it out to the universe now. By 40, I'm 36 right now. By 40, I'm going to do the splits. Mark my words. So I asked him, how do you do it? Because Rob Van Dam is famous for doing the splits with his feet elevated on chairs while holding a dumbbell. So he knows how to do it. And he just kind of went through the stretches, like a lot of hamstring stretches. Obviously, do everything you can before going in the split. So it was really nice getting sort of a layout of the best way to do it, because I was just honestly just dropping into splits as best I can. And there was some times where I really felt my groin pull. So it was really cool to talk to him about that. I bet it's something he doesn't get asked a lot. Who else did I run into? Well, I ran into somebody who I had seen at so many cons and I never got to meet. But I'm glad I finally got to meet him. And that is Mr. John Glover. If you don't know who John Glover is, I bet you do. I bet you do. You just don't know the name. And he is Lionel Luthor in Smallville. But more importantly, he is the voice of the Riddler in Batman, the animated series. And you all know how big of a fan I am of that series. John is a hoot every time I talk to him. Brian in chat says he is amazing, and I totally agree. It's the first time I actually was able to sit down and have a conversation with him. He is a blast. Was able to get a picture with him. So happy to finally say hi to him. The great Sergeant Slaughter was there as well. I was able to walk up and get my shirt signed, which I will go through at the end. This is something that a lot of the volunteers are able to do with the celebrities. I was able to get my shirt signed by Sergeant Slaughter, and I told him, as well as Sting, the same thing that I tell all the wrestlers, and that is they are the best babysitters a kid could ever ask for. And Sting laughed when I said that. He said, why? Like, I've never heard that before. Why do you say that? And I said, because, Sting, there is a generation of kids who their parents were busy doing things they should be doing, like working their butts off, and sadly it was the 80s and 90s, things they probably shouldn't be doing. And there was a lot of kids who were dropped in front of a TV to watch you versus Ric Flair and you versus Hogan in my case, and you guys took care of us and showed us right from wrong, especially a character like Sting and a character like Sergeant Slaughter. So I say that to all my legendary wrestlers that I get to meet at these cons, and they all love it, because it is very true that they helped raise a generation, and the ones today still do it too. John Cena is definitely a reason why there are so many good kids out there, because they all learn hustle, loyalty, and respect from that guy. As Brian was mentioning earlier, and as I mentioned earlier, Tony Moran, it is so frustrating that I got his autograph on my shirt when I have my Halloween with all the other autographs on it. He's the only one I do not have. I totally forgot to bring the photo, and I was frustrated that I didn't get it. But he was such a great guy. It was so fun to talk about my name and his name, and it kind of comes in handy. Michael Myers comes in handy around October, but rest of the year is kind of fun too. But October is where the real fun begins. I met an actress that, by the way, Mike, if you fit I do fit do you, Alex, for those who don't know, Alex was the one who sold me the second 3D printer, and now he is saying, Slaughter gave me a shirt last year that's the wrong size. I mentioned the T, and he gave me the correct size. By the way, Mike, if you fit an L, I have a shirt for you. I do fit large. I would love that shirt. I was actually eyeballing his shirts at the con going, yeah, I would love one of those. I would proudly wear a Sergeant Slaughter. If you're in chat, Alex and Brian, you saw Aaron walking around with the Sergeant Slaughter hat, which was really cool to see. He actually is a smaller version of Sergeant Slaughter with the mustache. That was an inside joke that nobody besides people at the con know. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. Another person I met at the con, which I was happy to meet, but I feel bad for these celebrities. They're all, anybody that does these, any celebrity that comes to these cons, believe me, we are so happy you are here. We really are, because you have at least brought one person to the con, and we love meeting all of you. But I do feel bad for some of these. And this one in particular, Nancy Ann Riddler, she's only really known for one thing, and that is in the Scream movie, there's a girl in the bathroom who says the line, and she wrote it on my shirt. Where do you get this shit? And she was great. Love talking to her. Great actress. But I feel bad that some of these celebrities show up and they're only known for one little thing. And she's great, 100%, but I just felt really bad that it's like you're known for one little tiny scene. Fun fact, she's dating Tony. Really? That's cool. Makes sense why she came then, and why they were sitting side by side. You learn something new every day, folks. But yeah, it's the same with the guy who played Doofy in Scary Movie. He was at a couple of the cons the past couple years, and I feel bad because it's like you're playing a dork character that is a big part of the movie, but it's just, I don't know, it wasn't really a great character, and I felt like people are showing up just to Tony's only known for a 3-second part. Agreed, Alex, but Tony is known for one of the biggest characters in horror franchise, and he's kind of the face of it. Like, yes, Michael Myers takes the mask. So for those who, I don't know if I mentioned it, Tony Moran is the person, when you've seen Halloween, when Michael gets shot at the end and he takes the mask off, that's Tony. So he's kind of the face of the horror character. So yes, he doesn't have any lines, but that's kind of the portrayal of what the character is. But again, Nancy was great. Had a great conversation with her. Loved talking with her. Sweet person. Same with what's his name? Doofy from Scary Movie. Great guy. Talked to him for a couple minutes. Great guy. I just feel bad when they show up and it's like, you're not a giant. Yes, it's the scene where Jamie Lee peels the mask back. Thank you, Alex. But yeah, I kind of felt bad for her. But again, she looked like she was having a fun time. And if she was hanging next to her guy, Tony, they were having a blast probably because Tony looked like he was having a blast. I finally got to meet one of my favorite childhood actors and adult actors, and that is Allison Court. I was such a Lunette the Clown, big comfy couch fan, and she played Lunette. She was also the voice actor for Jubilee in X-Men, the animated series. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, she was Claire Redfield in Resident Evil 2. We have been ships passing in the night for years. I've always missed her every other con, and I knew that she was going to be at this one, and I was so happy to finally be able to talk to her. She was one of the ones who signed my shirt, and I had to tell her, I'm like, I feel so bad because like she got replaced in the new Resident Evil, and her portrayal of Claire is amazing. Folks, if you also don't know, she is not Jubilee in the new animated series, but that is her choice from what she is. She's been interviewed and she said she felt because Jubilee is an Asian character, she does not have an Asian background, so she wanted someone of that ethnicity to play that character. However, in one of the episodes, spoiler, there is a future version of Jubilee or a past version of Jubilee, and that is played by Allison Court. So she does make an appearance as Jubilee, but not the Jubilee from the series. But again, she was great. Love talking to her. Then we met George Buza, who was Beast in the new and the old series. Really cool to meet him. And last but not least, I met Lisa Zane, who is the older sister of Billy Zane. Lisa Zane has been in a ton of things. I cannot remember half of them, unfortunately. If you see the face, you will know her. But she was very nice to talk to as well. If you're a volunteer at these cons, we do have a program that we ask the celebrities on Sundays if after a certain time of the day they wouldn't mind signing the shirts for the volunteers as a thank you for all they've done over the weekend. We have had some issues in the past where some new volunteers may get a little excited and go up, first thing in the morning or on a Friday when the con first starts to get stuff signed, and then they don't come back. So we've come up with a little program now that we give all the celebrities a little piece of paper with a shirt on it, and we ask them to click to the sign, and that basically indicates, hey, you guys can come up and get your shirt signed. It gives them the freedom to take it down if they get busy or they don't have time. It's a great system. Seems like tons of celebrities love it. So I usually don't get my shirt signed, but I really didn't have anything else to get signed, and I just went, you know what? This will be a year where I'm going to get my shirt signed. So let's quickly take a look at this shirt before we go into my final review. We've got Mr. Tony on the front. He got the front because everyone else on the back. And Michael Myers deserves his own space on my shirt. Who do we have here? We've got Mr. George Buza, who is Beast from X-Men. We've got Miss Lisa Zane up here in the corner. We've got Mr. Sergeant Slaughter with his little doodle on the bottom. I love celebrities that do that little extra stuff. We've got Mr. Rob Van Dam. That is autograph number 3, I think I have of his, with 5-star. And we have Allison Court with a little lunette doodle. And last but not least, we have To Mike, Where Do You Get This Shit? Nancy Ann Riddler, Girl in Bathroom. Honestly, really, really fun meeting everybody. This will go in the collection with the other ones. I want to do something with these. I think I'm kind of running into the problem with a couple other of the volunteers are running into, where we get a shirt every con and we don't obviously want to use them any other time, so we kind of just get thrown in a drawer. I want to figure out what to do with these. I know a couple of them I've specifically cut out the autograph, and I'm thinking of maybe doing like a big piece that has all of them all over it, because I've got at least 2 or 3 shirts that are pretty covered. I don't like doing the shirts because I like using these shirts just for like work shirts and cosplay shirts because they're free. But sometimes it just happens that way. So that was really fun. Let's go into the final bit, and then I'll let you guys get on to enjoying the last bit of sun on your Canada Day celebrations. Would I go back to Nickle City Comic Con after my first time going? I don't know. And I know that's probably a shock. I know that's probably a shock to some of you because of how much I've raved about this con. But there are a couple factors that play into my unknown if I'm going to be doing it in the future. If I do go, it will probably be for one day. And that is mostly because of the date. Because it's on Canada Day weekend, I understand. I understand that's why they do it on this weekend, because a lot of people are free. I like having this weekend free to spend with my wife. It is one of the long weekends that I really enjoy, just spending the day or the weekend with her. So using 2 of those days at a con is kind of like, I don't know about that. This is also one of 9 cons I'm doing this year. They've also announced a fall edition of the con, which will be taking place October 12th and 13th at the same place. I might not be going to that unless there's someone there that I'm really excited to meet. And that again is that would be my 10th. Crystal in chat says 9. Yeah, 9. I'm doing 9 cons this year. That might change next year. Let me pull up my sheet just to remind myself of all of the cons I'm doing this year, because yeah, it's a little nutty. Next year I am going to go pretty hard, and I say that because next year there might be a day or at least a certain amount of time that I might even drop out of volunteering just so I can cosplay, because I really do want to get some cosplay interactions at some of these cons that I don't normally get to go to. So this year alone in 2024, Toronto Comic Con, Anime North, Niagara Falls Comic Con, Forest City Comic Con, Nickle City Comic Con, Fan Expo Canada, London Comic Con, Hamilton Comic Con, Frightmare in the Falls. And if I add the fall edition of Nickle City, that will be 10. So that's 10 weekends that are getting packed up with convention stuff. And it's great going to these things, but that also is time away from my wife. That's also time away from building. That's also cost. I mean, especially going down to the States. I do have friends down there who would probably welcome me with open arms, but I also feel like I would need to compensate them in some way for taking me in for a weekend. This also includes gas and crossing the border. It's about an $11 toll to get across the border, at least get back. And that's parking down there. That's exchange rate. So it's costly to do some of these cons. And I mean, Expo alone is going to be $1,000 plus to do that full weekend. Now, I am doing it solo, so I am paying for an entire hotel room for myself. So yes, I understand that I could have others stay with me, and that would cut back my costs. I understand that, and that will probably be what's going to happen next year because $1,000 is a little tough to swallow. But yeah, it's one of those things where I really need to start thinking about time management and priorities. That I love seeing everybody, and believe me, there are this Saturday when I was not there at this con, I saw photos of everybody hanging out, and man, did I wish I was there. But it's just too much sometimes. And so if I do go next year, it will probably be for the one day again. It will probably be for the Sunday or maybe the Saturday, depending on how nutty it is and what people are there. But overall, if you're in the area, if you're Canadian and have a passport, if you're in the Niagara Falls or the Buffalo area, please check this con out. It was a fun time. There was actually a couple people I ran into who said this was their first time, and I asked them what they thought of it. And they said they're loving it. They said they're going to be back. They're going to be back for the fall one, and they're going to be back for next year. So looks like we're still making new fans, which shocks me. It really shocks me. I mean, just in the Southern Ontario area, I'm going to 9 cons. There's way more than that in the area. So to know that there are still people out there that have never been to Comic Cons shocks me. But they're out there. They're still out there. So if you're a fan and want to go to a new small con that's really cool, if you're in the, like I said, if you're in the Buffalo area, it's a little drive to the Buffalo Convention Center. If you're in the Ontario, especially Niagara Falls area, it's a nice little jump across the border. If you got your passport, go have fun. It's a great little con. I recommend it. Whether I'm there or not, I recommend it. Quick predictions for Money in the Bank this weekend. All right, Brian, you brought it up. Let's talk about it. I wasn't going to talk about it, but for those who don't know, it is WWE Money in the Bank coming up this weekend in Toronto. We've got a couple people were asking me if I'm going to be going. I don't know. I probably won't. To be honest, because it's just, I'm not watching enough to be fair. So I know I should probably go because it looks like it's going to be a pretty damn good pay-per-view, but we'll see. So let's quickly go through the matches and I'll get you guys out of here. Money in the Bank ladder match for the men's championship match contract. We've got Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight versus one to be announced opponent who I believe will be picked tonight on Monday Night Raw. As of right now, depending on who that last two TBD person is, I'm going to be shocked if LA Knight doesn't win. I think he needs it at this point. Again, depending on who that last person is, but based off Jey Uso, Carmelo, Andrade, Chad, and LA Knight needs that. He needs that extra kick in the pants that gives him the chance to get that title. Io Sky, Chelsea Green, I hate this woman. I hate this woman's name. Lyra Valkyria, sure. Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, 1 TBD. I would be very happy if Tiffany Stratton wins it. She's got such a great push so far. If Chelsea wins, I think that would be hilarious because she is just a ball of fun. I think that would make a lot of people furious. But I'd really like Tiffany Stratton. I think she deserves it. I think it'd be really cool to see her go up against Liv or Rhea Ripley, depending on when Rhea Ripley's going to come back and beat the living daylights out of the women's champion. Third match of the night, Damian Priest versus Seth freaking Rollins. Last chance match for the World Heavyweight Championship. If Priest wins, Rollins can never challenge for the title as long as Priest is champion. And if Rollins wins, Priest must leave the Judgment Day. Priest is not going to leave the Judgment Day. Sorry. Oh, it's Lyra? Oh, it's Lyra? I don't know. Damian Priest is not going to leave the Judgment Day. I'm sorry. Priest is going to win. I wouldn't be surprised if McIntyre makes an appearance. I think he's probably going to make an appearance in that match because he's kind of got heat with both of them. I know he's left retired, whatever, or quit. But no, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see a run in that match. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship is the one I'm probably the most excited about. Braun Breaker's a freaking beast. He is a Steiner, and if you've been a wrestling fan for years, you know what that last name means. I don't know if they're gonna take it from Sammy. They might, only because I would have felt. I know Braun is in the pathway of getting that belt. I just don't know if this is it. I know they wanted. I've heard that they wanted to give it to him for a while, but with Gunther being such a great champion, I think they didn't want to have him get beaten by Breaker. So I could see them giving it to Braun. So I'll go with Braun on that one, winning the IC belt. And last, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline, which is Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and or Jacob Fatu. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens are going to win. I think this is going to be the return of Roman. And that's where I'm like, I kind of want to be there to hear the pop, but I think Roman's going to make an appearance. I think this is where we've got all the people we need. And after Friday and them taking out Heyman, I think that's the nail in the coffin of the Bloodline, where I think Roman's going to come back and he's going to reign supreme on all of them. And then we're going to go into SummerSlam with we'll probably go into SummerSlam with Solo versus Roman. And then we'll start leading towards Survivor Series, which will get the War Games between the Rock side versus Roman side. And that's where Sammy will now be free from the Intercontinental Championship to join back in with Roman. And it'll be Jay, Jimmy, Roman, Sammy versus Solo, Tama, Tonga, Tongaloa, and Jacob Fatu. That's my predictions. For Heatwave, I have no bloody idea. Honestly, I haven't watched NXT in so long. I hope Ethan Page wins. I'm going to be so happy if Ethan Page wins in Toronto. The pop is going to be monstrous. Roxana Perez versus Lola Vice. I have no idea who either of them are, unfortunately. Actually, I know Roxana. Roxana Perez would be cool. Roxana Perez would be cool if she kept her belt. Wesley versus Obafemi. No idea. I don't really care who wins. Liam Mitchell versus Sol Roca? Yeah, Sol Roca. I'd be interested in that one. I'd be interested to see her win. NXT Tag Team Championship, Chase University, Axum and Nathan. Chase University, easy for that one. And the main event, I don't think they're going to take it off Trick Williams, but if Ethan can somehow get that win, oh, it's going to be so good. I'm going to be so happy if he wins. I might cry because dude deserves it so much. And that's it. We're at the 57 mark. I'm going to let you guys get out and enjoy the last little bit of sunlight on your Canada Day celebrations. Have yourselves a great night. Have yourselves a great week. I'll be back next week for more Monday Night Nerd. I don't know if I have a topic ready, but I will let you guys know in the next couple days what we're going to talk about. But folks, I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. If you're still here, by the way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit all those things. It lets me know you guys like this stuff. You like con reviews, because I've got a bunch more cons coming up that I'm going to have reviews for all of them. So have yourselves a great night. I love you all, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Stay nerdy. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.